The room was filled with tension as the Galactic Council gathered. Representatives from various species whispered among themselves, exchanging glances as the human ambassador stepped forward. His expression was calm, almost unnervingly so, in the face of what was to come. "We are here to issue a final warning," the human ambassador said, his voice clear and steady. "The NIGMA Empire has announced its intentions to conquer Earth. We strongly advise against this course of action." A murmur rippled through the assembly. The NIGMA representative, seated at the far end of the table, let out a soft laugh. His reptilian eyes narrowed in amusement as he leaned back, arms crossed over his armored chest. "And why should we heed the warnings of a species as young and insignificant as yours?" The NIGMA envoy sneered, his voice dripping with arrogance. "We've crushed dozens of civilizations far more advanced than Earth. What makes you think humans will be any different?" The human ambassador met the envoy's gaze without flinching. "Your empire has made a mistake in underestimating us. We do not seek conflict, but if you force our hand, the consequences will be irreversible." More laughter followed, not just from the NIGMA envoy but from other members of the council. It wasn't the first time a so-called primitive species had issued a dire warning before their inevitable destruction. The galaxy had seen this pattern before, hubris and bravado from species on the brink of annihilation. But the human remained silent, letting the ridicule pass. His calm demeanor seemed to unsettle a few, though most remained convinced this was just another futile plea. "You overestimate your importance," the NIGMA envoy spat. "You're nothing more than a footnote in the grand history of the NIGMA Empire." Another delegate spoke up, this time a representative from a race known for its diplomatic ties with Earth. "The humans have shown resilience in the past. They've survived what would have destroyed others." The NIGMA envoy waved a dismissive hand. "Survived? Perhaps. But survival is not victory. We have perfected war. Humans will be nothing but a brief skirmish in our campaign for domination." The human ambassador's face remained impassive, though his eyes held something darker beneath the surface. "We have faced extinction before," he said quietly, "and we have always emerged stronger." The envoy smirked. "We'll see just how strong you are when our fleet arrives in your skies." The session concluded with the usual formalities, but the air was heavy with an unspoken tension. Some of the delegates looked uneasy, while others were eager to see what would happen next. The human ambassador made his exit without further comment, disappearing into the corridors of the council's grand chambers. Behind him, the whispers grew louder. Back in the NIGMA Empire's central command, the High Command gathered in their war room, plotting the invasion with an air of supreme confidence. They had reviewed Earth's defenses, a seemingly average planet with limited interstellar capabilities and no history of galactic warfare. There was nothing remarkable about the humans, at least on the surface. "Let's make this quick," the NIGMA Emperor commanded. His tone was filled with the kind of arrogance that had been earned through centuries of victory. "Crush them swiftly and efficiently. I want Earth brought to its knees before the cycle ends." The fleet was massive, a testament to the Empire's military dominance. Thousands of ships, equipped with weapons capable of reducing entire planets to rubble, were ready to launch. The Emperor sat on his throne, surveying the preparations through a holographic display. He was confident, as always. Victory was not a question, it was an inevitability. One of his generals, a veteran of countless battles, voiced a minor concern. "The Galactic Council seems uneasy about this invasion. Some species have hinted that humans are more dangerous than they appear." The Emperor's laughter echoed through the chamber. "Dangerous? To us? Do not insult our intelligence, General. The humans are a primitive species, squabbling over their own resources. They have never faced an enemy like us." The general nodded but remained silent, unsure whether to press further. He had learned long ago not to question the Emperor's judgment. The NIGMA Empire had been victorious for so long that doubt was rarely tolerated, and those who expressed it often found themselves on the wrong end of an execution order. The invasion was greenlit. NIGMA's vast fleet jumped into hyperspace, en route to Earth. Their journey would be swift, and soon they would arrive, ready to demonstrate their overwhelming power. Victory was as certain as the rising of the twin suns over the NIGMA homeworld. As the fleet moved toward its target, there was a sense of inevitability among the crew. They had done this many times before: invaded, conquered, destroyed. It was a cycle that had defined their empire for generations. Earth would be no different. But deep within the heart of the human leadership, far beneath the surface of Earth in a hidden command center, the humans were already preparing. They had known the invasion was coming, even before the official declaration. Humanity had always been good at surviving. Now they were about to prove they were good at something else: winning. The NIGMA fleet arrived in Earth's orbit, casting a shadow over the planet below. Their ships were massive, sleek, and bristling with advanced weaponry. From the command deck of the lead ship, the NIGMA Emperor looked out with satisfaction. Victory was inevitable, just as it had been countless times before. The humans would soon learn their place in the galaxy. Orders were given, and the first wave of NIGMA's ships began their descent toward Earth's surface. Their scanners showed minimal resistance, an expected outcome for a planet so primitive in their eyes. The ships moved with precision, anticipating an easy conquest. But something was off. The moment the first ships broke through Earth's atmosphere, communications between them and the fleet were cut. Systems began to malfunction, navigation screens flickered, and weapon systems refused to respond. NIGMA commanders frantically issued orders to regain control, but the problem spread like wildfire through their ranks. From the surface of Earth, nothing seemed out of place. The humans had not launched a single defensive measure, yet NIGMA's formidable technology was failing them. The fleet above watched in disbelief as ship after ship lost power and fell out of formation. In the command center beneath Earth's surface, human generals watched calmly as the first phase of their plan unfolded. They had anticipated this moment, knowing the NIGMA Empire would rely heavily on their technological superiority. What the NIGMA didn't realize was that Earth had spent years preparing for this day, studying the weaknesses of their invaders. The humans had turned the NIGMA's greatest strength into a vulnerability. Unknown to the NIGMA, Earth's defense wasn't built on traditional warfare. Instead of matching their enemies' firepower, humanity had developed an intricate network of electronic warfare, designed to disrupt and disable even the most advanced systems. Hidden satellites, camouflage drones, and AI-controlled defense grids had silently activated the moment the NIGMA fleet arrived. As the NIGMA struggled to regain control of their malfunctioning ships, humanity's counterattack began. Small, nimble craft launched from Earth's surface, targeting the crippled NIGMA ships with deadly accuracy. These were not ordinary fighters. They were equipped with advanced cloaking technology and electromagnetic pulse weapons, capable of frying any remaining NIGMA electronics. The humans weren't just fighting to defend their planet. They were dismantling the NIGMA war machine piece by piece. Panic spread through the NIGMA ranks. This was not the easy victory they had been promised. Reports flooded in from all corners of the fleet, ships going dark, weapons systems offline, and entire squadrons disappearing without a trace. The NIGMA commanders, trained in traditional warfare, were unprepared for this kind of chaos. They had never faced an enemy that fought with such unpredictability. On the ground, human forces were ready. But unlike the NIGMA, who relied on brute force, the humans used guerrilla tactics. They moved swiftly through urban centers and dense forests, striking at NIGMA landing parties with precision before disappearing into the shadows. Every inch of Earth had been turned into a battlefield, with traps and ambushes waiting around every corner. The NIGMA Empire had never seen anything like this. They were used to overwhelming their enemies with superior technology and firepower, but here on Earth, none of that mattered. Their ships were falling from the sky, their troops were being decimated by unseen enemies, and their once unstoppable empire was crumbling before their eyes. Inside the NIGMA command ship, the Emperor watched in growing horror as his fleet was torn apart. How had this happened? How had a species so primitive brought his empire to its knees? His commanders offered no answers, only reports of more failures, more defeats. The humans had anticipated everything. They had studied NIGMA tactics, analyzed their weaknesses, and devised a strategy that exploited every flaw in their system. Earth's defense wasn't just a military operation, It was a masterclass in psychological warfare. The humans had taken the NIGMA's arrogance and turned it against them. As the NIGMA forces fell deeper into disarray, the humans pressed their advantage. They didn't fight like the NIGMA, with large-scale battles and head-on confrontations. Instead, they operated in the shadows, striking swiftly and disappearing before the NIGMA could retaliate. Every encounter left the NIGMA more vulnerable, more desperate. In space, the remnants of the NIGMA fleet attempted to regroup, but it was too late. The humans had already won the battle before it had even begun. Their fleets, equipped with technology the NIGMA had never seen before, began to systematically dismantle the invaders' remaining forces. Earth wasn't just defending itself, it was annihilating the NIGMA Empire. As the last of the NIGMA ships fell from the sky, the truth became clear. The humans had been underestimated, and now the NIGMA were paying the price for their arrogance. The mighty NIGMA Empire, once feared across the galaxy, had met its match in the species they had dismissed as primitive. The humans had done more than survive, they had outwitted, outmaneuvered, and outmatched the most powerful empire in the galaxy. And as the dust settled, the NIGMA's fate was sealed. The NIGMA Empire, though battered and bruised, was not finished yet. Desperation took hold of the NIGMA Emperor, as he watched his once mighty fleet being torn apart. His mind raced, trying to make sense of the human resistance. How could a species they deemed so insignificant bring such devastation? But there was no time for reflection. He still had one last move to play, a final, catastrophic weapon. One that would ensure Earth's destruction, even if it meant sacrificing the remnants of his empire. From the depths of their armada, the NIGMA Emperor ordered the activation of their doomsday device, a weapon powerful enough to obliterate an entire planet in one strike. It was a last-ditch effort, a final act of defiance. The plan was simple: if the NIGMA could not conquer Earth, they would leave nothing behind but ash. In Earth's hidden command centers, deep underground, human leaders anticipated the move. They had learned from centuries of war that desperate enemies make reckless decisions, and they had prepared for this very scenario. The NIGMA's reliance on their technological superiority had been their downfall from the beginning. Humanity had studied their methods, their weapons, and their weaknesses. They had spent years developing countermeasures for every possible scenario, including this one. The moment the NIGMA began powering up their doomsday device, Earth's defense networks went into overdrive. In a move that had been months in the making, the humans launched Project Nemesis, their ultimate weapon. But it was not a weapon of destruction. It was something far more insidious, a virus, meticulously engineered to target not living beings, but machines, data, and systems. Project Nemesis had been designed to infiltrate the NIGMA's own communication networks. It was a silent invader, lurking within the NIGMA systems for months, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As the NIGMA prepared their final assault, Nemesis activated. It spread through the Empire's systems like wildfire, infecting their ships, weapons, and infrastructure. The NIGMA commanders noticed it almost immediately. Their systems, already strained from the battle, began to falter. Control panels froze, targeting systems malfunctioned, and their communications fell into chaos. At first, they thought it was another Earth-based attack, but this was different. This was internal, an enemy from within. The doomsday device, their last hope, began to power down. Critical systems failed one by one. Panic spread among the NIGMA ranks as they realized what was happening. They had been outsmarted yet again. The humans hadn't just prepared for an invasion, they had anticipated every possible move the NIGMA could make, including this one. The virus spread faster than the NIGMA could react. Entire fleets were disabled within minutes, their advanced technology rendered useless. The humans, watching from their command centers, knew the battle was over. They had turned the NIGMA's greatest strength, their dependence on technology, into their downfall. On the NIGMA's flagship, the Emperor watched in horror as his empire collapsed around him. The once invincible NIGMA fleet was nothing more than a collection of floating husks, their systems dead, their weapons silent. His empire, built on the foundation of technological superiority, had been brought to its knees by a species they had dismissed as primitive. In his final moments of clarity, the Emperor realized the depth of his mistake. He had underestimated humanity, not because of their strength, but because of their ingenuity. The humans didn't fight like any enemy the NIGMA had ever faced. They fought with intelligence, adaptability, and unpredictability. They had used chaos as a weapon, and in doing so, had defeated an empire that had ruled the galaxy for centuries. As the virus continued to spread, the NIGMA's ships began to self-destruct. The humans had anticipated this too. The self-destruct protocols were a last resort, designed to prevent enemy forces from salvaging NIGMA technology. But in this case, it only accelerated their downfall. Ship after ship detonated, lighting up the night sky like fireworks. The NIGMA fleet, once the terror of the galaxy, was now nothing more than debris scattered across the void. The human commanders watched as the final explosions faded. They had done it. The NIGMA Empire was no more. Earth had faced its greatest threat and emerged victorious, not through sheer strength, but through strategy, cunning, and preparation. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson that day. Humanity was not to be trifled with. In the silence that followed, the humans took a moment to reflect. The battle had been hard fought, but they had survived. They had stood their ground against an empire that had crushed countless civilizations before them. And now, they were the ones left standing. But even in victory, there was no celebration. The humans knew that this was only the beginning. The destruction of the NIGMA Empire had sent a clear message to the rest of the galaxy. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with. But it had also painted a target on their backs. Other empires would take notice, and new threats would emerge. For now, though, Earth was safe. The NIGMA were gone, their empire reduced to ruins. And humanity, once seen as weak and insignificant, had proven themselves to be far more dangerous than anyone had ever imagined. The NIGMA Emperor's final act of defiance had failed. His empire had fallen, not because of a lack of strength, but because of a lack of understanding. He had underestimated the human capacity for survival, for innovation, and for turning the tide of war in ways no one could predict. In the end, the NIGMA's greatest weakness was their arrogance. And it was that arrogance that led to their extinction. The galaxy was left in stunned silence as the remnants of the NIGMA Empire fell apart. News of their extinction spread like wildfire, resonating across countless star systems. Civilizations that had once trembled in fear of the NIGMA Empire now found themselves grappling with disbelief. How could a species thought to be primitive, so easily brushed aside, have accomplished such a feat? The fall of the NIGMA was not just a victory for humanity. It was a monumental shift in the balance of power in the galaxy. In the aftermath, a meeting of the Galactic Council convened, a gathering of various species that had once regarded humanity with skepticism. The atmosphere was tense as representatives from different factions filled the chamber. No one knew how to address the cataclysmic event that had just unfolded. Many had assumed the NIGMA would dominate Earth with ease, but now they had been completely eradicated. The human ambassador stood at the forefront, a calm presence amidst the turmoil. He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of the other council members. "We warned you," he said, his voice steady and clear. "The NIGMA Empire underestimated humanity, just as many of you have done. We do not seek war, but we will defend ourselves with everything we have. We will not be silenced, and we will not be ignored." The council members exchanged glances, some clearly unsettled. The ramifications of humanity's victory were profound. The NIGMA had been a brutal regime, a constant threat to the galaxy's stability. With them gone, a power vacuum emerged, and everyone knew it. The question loomed: who would fill that void? Would it be humanity? Would they seize the opportunity to expand their influence? Or would they retreat, content with their newfound status? One of the council members, a representative from the Krell species, a once dominant power in the galaxy, spoke up, his voice tinged with apprehension. "Your methods were ruthless. You fought without honor. What prevents you from turning your sights on us next? The NIGMA were a threat, yes, but they were not the only one. Are you now the galaxy's new predator?" The ambassador met his gaze, unflinching. "We are not predators. We are survivors. We do not desire conquest, we desire peace. But make no mistake, if we are provoked, we will respond with force. This is not a threat, it is a promise. The representative's expression shifted, uncertainty replacing bravado. Around the chamber, murmurs began to circulate, a mix of fear and awe. The NIGMA had not only been destroyed, they had been annihilated. The empire that had terrorized the galaxy for generations had been brought down by a species previously dismissed as weak. The power dynamics were changing, and many felt the tremors. In the days that followed, Earth's leaders initiated communication with other species, extending hands of cooperation rather than aggression. They sought to prove that their victory was not a harbinger of doom, but an opportunity for collaboration. The Galactic Council received a series of proposals from humanity, inviting other civilizations to join forces for mutual benefit. The response was mixed, some were intrigued, while others remained wary. As time passed, alliances began to form. Species that had once feared the NIGMA found common ground with humanity. Together, they explored the cosmos, shared technology, and pooled resources. The galaxy was slowly shifting from a landscape marked by fear and oppression into one of potential cooperation and understanding. Humanity's reputation transformed from that of a naive, untested species to a respected partner, though not without lingering mistrust. In the wake of these developments, the human general who had played a crucial role in the defense against the NIGMA also addressed the council. Standing in front of a holographic display of Earth's war-torn yet resilient landscapes, he emphasized unity. We are not alone in this galaxy. Together, we can ensure that the mistakes of the past are never repeated. Let us learn from the NIGMA's downfall. We can build a future based on respect and cooperation, rather than domination and fear. His words resonated with many. Even those still cautious about humanity began to consider the potential of collaboration. The scars left by the NIGMA's reign were deep, but the possibility of healing became tangible. Diplomacy replaced hostility as species began to communicate and connect in ways previously unimagined. Yet, not all were convinced. Factions within the galaxy, remnants of old regimes, began to plot. They saw humanity's rise as a threat to their own power. Secret meetings took place in dark corners of space, where leaders plotted their next move. They were determined to strike before humanity could solidify its position. They believed the NIGMA's defeat was merely an aberration, a fluke in the grand scheme of galactic history. In response, Earth continued to strengthen its defenses. They understood that the galaxy was still rife with danger, and underestimating potential adversaries would be a grave mistake. The military was restructured, focusing on both offensive and defensive strategies. Earth's leaders trained the next generation of soldiers not just in combat, but in tactics of diplomacy and negotiation. They aimed to create a balance of power that discouraged conflict while promoting peace. As the galaxy turned, it became clear that the legacy of the NIGMA Empire was not merely their destruction. It was a stark reminder of the dangers of arrogance and underestimation. Humanity emerged not as conquerors but as vigilant guardians, eager to carve a new path in a galaxy eager for change. They took on the mantle of protectors, not just for themselves, but for all those who had suffered under the tyranny of the NIGMA. Ultimately, the humans sent a message across the stars, a clarion call to all civilizations. Do not provoke us. We do not seek war, but we will finish it if it comes to us. It was a warning, but it was also a pledge, a commitment to stand firm against tyranny, to foster alliances, and to ensure that peace reigned in a galaxy that had known too much darkness. In this new era, humanity would not be defined by the NIGMA's actions, nor would they allow their story to be one of vengeance. Instead, they would strive to be the architects of a future where cooperation prevailed over conflict, where understanding triumphed over ignorance, and where no one would ever again underestimate the resolve of a species united against adversity. The galaxy had witnessed the rise and fall of empires. Now, it would witness the dawn of a new chapter, one led by humanity's indomitable spirit and unyielding desire for peace.